Hold up. Let him.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Definitely appreciate the support. So we're going to continue the new account creation series. I created a new account and I decided I'm going to pick only bad teams and go through, dropping videos on games that I have online playing on this account, okay? And I figured, I didn't know where I was going to go with this, if I was going to go over every play, but that kind of went down the toilet because I think the video would be too long. And then I decided, you know what, I'll just do impactful plays in the game to where it's kind of layered in a way to where the video isn't too long, but I go over important plays in the game, and then maybe you can kind of grab some insight from what I'm thinking in that regard, okay? And at first I was thinking maybe it's not a good idea, but then in my second video, so I dropped the first video, well, I recorded the first video, I don't know if I'm going to drop it because I thought it was too boring. But in this video, I believe it was the third game of this account, I ran into a situation to where I could finally explain 3-sight. So if you don't know what this screen is, this is our toolbox. Okay, these are all the different coverages that we can utilize in any given scenario on the football field. And pretty much what these are, they're answers. They're answers to different questions. Your offense that you're playing against is asking a question in regards to, hey, we are running a flood concept on this side. What's your answer to that question? That's the way I look at it. And then we reach in our toolbox and we find the answer to that question. Hey, I have 2 buster. That's my answer to flood on this side, etc. Right? That's essentially what defensive coverages are all about. You are a defensive coordinator when you're on defense in this game. You are an offensive coordinator when you are on offense in this game. It's very important to kind of think of it in that realm, and you'll get better and better the more and more you play the game, or later on in later Maddens. So when you think in this regard, think about all the times where you run into a problem online or in your MUT game or a franchise game, a guy's doing the same thing over and over again and you don't know how to stop it, right? So then you look online, you're like, hey, how do I stop these crossing patterns from this tight set? Or how do I stop this? Well, if you have like this toolbox and you understand each one of these defensive concept coverages or whatever, and you know what they're good at solving, well then you could know in a certain situation, hey, this guy's doing this on this side. I know that, if I bracket this, as we see from the cover 5 side, that would solve this problem, okay? Now we get into the next step. What I have in white is what the game of Madden has in the game, okay? So it's very disturbing here because what I have in red is what they don't have in the game. And they should. There is no excuse for none of this stuff to be in the game. I don't care what anyone says, guys. There is no excuse. Think about all the money that they collect from us every single year, $60 a year minimum. There's guys who pay thousands of dollars every year a MUT, right? They're making way too much money for them to not have basic coverages in the game, okay? So there's just no excuse for that, right? So you may ask, well, what's the point of me learning this if it's not in the game? Well, there's no guarantee that it might not come in the game later. That's one thing. So you'll be ahead of the curve. 2, if you run into a problem where, let's say, cover 5 Cougar would be an excellent option to play against a particular offensive attack, but it's not in the game, well then now you can try to replicate what cover 5 Cougar does to solve that problem, right? So that's why I think it's important to kind of understand where these fit and what they're good against. What I have in purple are checks. So like solo and stubby are coverages that it checks into that coverage against a particular formation. So you can't play stubby against a 2x2 set, basically what I'm saying. You can't play stump against a 2x2 set. That's why it's in purple, okay? So like stubby is a quarters check where if a team goes into trips set, then you can play stubby. If a team goes into, a trips formation or 3x0, you can play solo, right? That's what I have. That's why I have it in purple. So if you notice 2-clip, if you watch my cover 2 series, 2-clip is in purple because it's a check. It's not something that you can really utilize against one set, but when they get into trips, that's when I can go to 2-clip, right? So that's what I mean by that. So as you can see, steel is in white and red. White is because it's kind of in the game, but red because it's kind of not, right? So that's why I have mix and match colors. As you see, Stump is in purple because it's a check, but it's in red because it's not really in the game, right? You can somewhat simulate it, but it doesn't simulate the way I think that it should. Okay, so enough about that. If you've watched my videos, I'm pretty sure you've seen 3-sight here. You've seen me knock it down, put it down somewhere, but I've never really explained it or got around to explaining it because I couldn't find the perfect video to kind of go over it. But then I ran into it in this game, and the game actually simulates 3-sight in a particular situation. I was in shock. It was in this game. I didn't notice it until I went to the practice field to showcase something from this particular formation that my opponent was running, and I noticed that it was playing a form of 3-sight. And I think it's because the game is bugged, not because it's intentionally in the game. But I guess this is the perfect example for me to actually kind of go over what 3-sight really is. So why don't we get right into it? So anyways, first play of the game, I was in a rush. I was getting rushed there with the time clock, so I went with cover 3 seam because he's playing with a tight set. I like to do that because players like to attack outside. I wonder if that was just a errant throw because that was not the right decision there. And we go ahead and get a knockdown. And this is the formation where we get into something very interesting. So he goes gun split slot, and I decided to go cover 3 buzz against this. So again, the first drive, you're really collecting information on what your opponent likes to do. And this play action pulls me up, and he rips it right behind me. So that is an excellent play. Look how I drive up. I'm really the guy who's supposed to hold the curl area, and it opens up that window for that post pattern. So I got there with PAHB will, and he goes back to gun split slot again. All right, so I'm not going to let it happen again. Now I'm showing pressure, and look how I'm driving up into that post window. But then he throws outside. So my curl flat didn't make it on that wheel pattern by the running back. So then I'm like, you know what? I was thinking what coverage would be best against that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go cover 4 palms. So I'm waiting for him to pick the formation again. He does. I go cover 4 palms. So why don't we see what happens here? He picks a different play. He throws to the out with Mr. Bonafide Star there. And let's go to the screenshot. All right, so you guys know in cover 4 match, on this side we have the corner reading 1 to 2. We have the safety reading Q to 2 to 1. And then obviously we have our quarter flat who's a match 2 out player. Or you can label it flat 2 to 3 is the way I like to label it. Then you have your 3 receiver hook player. You guys know he relates to the number 3, okay? And on this side, we have the corner reading really just the 1 against this formation where he will take 1 deep. And in red is what I have in regards to what I was assuming how quarters would play against this formation. I assumed that the quarter flat player here would be Meg on the running back weak, number 2. And I thought that the safety would play just a mere post control, right? But I was wrong until I went into the replay and I noticed what happens when you play quarters against this particular formation. So I want you to imagine if we kept it the way it is, where this corner is reading 1 and he's going to take 1 deep, and then this guy is Meg on the back weak, right? And then this safety would be post control. How would an offense potentially attack this? Well, one thing a offense can do is they can take this running back and just have him go on a wheel route, okay? And that would exploit a potential mismatch with the running back on the linebacker, because the linebacker a lot of times is not that great in the coverage, well, at least some linebackers, and you could get a mismatch. What if you had like Alvin Kamara on a linebacker one-on-one up the sideline on a wheel pattern? Like, you're just begging for a big play to happen on that side, especially with no safety over the top to help. And the way you would ensure that no one would be around is if you knew that we were playing a coverage like this with me having what these guys are doing in red, you would just take the number 1 here and have them run like a post pattern. And think about the play that the guy ran, right? The wide receiver was running a post pattern and this back was running a wheel pattern. That's just an excellent play to run against a coverage like this where the linebacker is one-on-one with the back and you have a shifty back and the linebacker is not going to be great in space. In comes 3-sight, okay? So 3-sight is something where you're matching speed with speed, and it's really dictated on what the running back does on the weak side. Okay, so these two players both have eyes on the back. The back dictates what they're going to do in three sight. Okay, if the back goes vertical at all, so if he goes as if he's going to come into block, check release, runs a vertical up the LOS, and then he's going to go to the flat, whatever. If he takes a vertical plane, then the linebacker has him. Okay, and in that instance, then the safety can do a number of different things. He can play post control, he can look for a crosser from the front side, he can double the weak side one, etc. But if the back goes to the flat right now, okay, then the safety takes him man to man, and then the linebacker can be the player to look for a front side crosser or drift off and play more of a zone type backer, etc. Okay, so if he goes vertical, the backer has him. If he goes to the flat now, that's where you would get your wheels and stuff like that. Then the safety has him. Why would you do that? Well, because if he goes vertical now, well then he's not going to run a wheel pattern, obviously, right? So then your backer won't have trouble matching that route deep up the sideline because he's not running a wheel pattern. Or if he stays in the block, normally that's because you're checking into 6-man protection and you're running a deeper type pattern, so you want to have the safety playing from the top, table down, and etc. Now if he goes to the flat now, okay, now that's the potential to where he can turn and run the wheel pattern, and you would much rather have a shiftier player, a player better in space, like your safety, as opposed to the linebacker chasing that route and playing man-to-man against that route. So that's what three-side is really geared towards. It's geared towards having an answer for whatever the back does. We don't want the back to go on a wheel pattern and then it forces the linebacker to match that one-on-one, okay? So I play quarters and I noticed that it actually does that. If the linebacker, if the running back goes to the flat now and he's going to go to the wheel or flat, the safety actually matches the pattern. Okay, but if he stays in the block, if he goes vertical as if he's running just a regular check and release, curl, whatever, then the safety doesn't take him and he plays his normal responsibilities and the linebacker takes him. And I just found it so interesting. But however, they don't have it programmed 100% correctly, because if he does go to the flat now, yes, the safety does take him, but the linebacker takes him as well. So one way you can fix that is, well, let's just user this player, right? So now we can play three-sight 100% correctly when we are in this formation. So we can take a look at how it runs. So here we are. I picked the same play and watch the safety. He actually mans the route from the back, right? So another play, how about we just send him directly to the flat and not on the wheel? He still comes over to deal with the back. What if we block the back? Well, then the safety is able to poach and double the number one coming inside. And here is when the back goes directly up, as we stated, and the linebacker takes him, so the safety is able to stay over the top. So it actually does play three-sight there. I was just in shock when I noticed this in the game. Okay, because if you notice in all the toolboxes or the videos where I have the toolbox and I showcase, all the different coverages, I'm pretty sure you notice that I would have three-sight in all of those videos. Notice how he throws in the double coverage there and the guy gets... That's what I don't like about how the game plays double coverage, but I'll leave it at that. I would have three-sight on the screen, but I just never, explained it, right? Because I didn't have the perfect video to kind of go over it. And lo and behold, when in this series, I ran across this, and I didn't notice it until I went to the practice field to showcase how, I was playing cover 3 buzz and how it should have dealt with the formation, etc. And then I noticed in the replay that it actually played like three-sight. I was in shock. So, granted, now three-sight is something you can play with quarters coverage, or you can play it with cover 3. Okay, so, that's another reason why, if you notice where I put three-sight in a lot of my videos, I think I get an interception here. Yeah, I was playing cover 3 buzz. I knew he was looking for Chase all the time, so I'm just taking the crosser by myself. And he brought Chase on that deep in pattern, and I just crossed over and got a touchdown. Okay, so I play better as the game progresses. Okay, first drive for me is always a scouting report. If we get a stop, great. If we don't, I know I'll play better as the game goes on because, again, I'm just collecting information on how my opponent plays. Now, he goes back to this play. So, obviously in this game, I didn't know that it plays like three-side if I play cover 4 against this formation. If I did, this play, cover 4, the way it plays three-side against this formation, I don't think it would be great because it would leave, now you know the weaknesses of three-side, it would leave the X receiver one-on-one with that corner if he sends the back to the flat, right? So here I show the replay in slow motion. As you notice, I got in the window of the post and he didn't throw the wheel, and the reason why he wasn't able to do it there, I think he hesitated a bit and he's on the hash there, so it's less space for the back to be thrown. So I mean, it's just a lot to talk about in all these videos, but I think I'm in the mode of, you know what, let me just keep it short, don't slow it down. And here we are, we're at 15 minutes. So here's another thing I'd like to do. I got it in slow motion for a reason. When they are on the hash, I like to play games on the boundary side. So I'm in quarters, this is why I love double high. We can play a lot of games. Look how I bring the safety down, so it looks like I'm bringing a pressure, but at the snap of the ball, that backside safety was in a box. You see I was in palms? I'm in palms coverage, and remember, he's reading 2 to 1. But obviously our opponent doesn't know what we're doing, but I actually double the X because he kept looking for chase. So we're gonna take that away, right? And at the snap of the ball, no, we're not coming, we're doubling the X. And look how it seems as if he was confused because I don't see why he would immediately throw to that underneath route there. So I'm gonna let this run without stopping it, guys, because I don't want it to be too long. Then I started running my pressure packages. So if you want to get a look at those, definitely go to my members side. I have 75 videos created so far on the member side, and I just started getting into the darker side of the pressure package side, I guess you could say. And if you go back and rewind, I want you to notice how we got stunts. We get TE stunts, all types of stuff, really cool stuff. So if you're interested, it's $5 a month. And so far I have 75 videos, okay? Here I started playing, this is, again, I love split safety coverages, guys, because I'm playing one coverage on one side against bunch, and then I'm playing it like a different bracket type coverage on the other side. I was playing cover 4 bingo on the bunch side, and I was doubling the X with the backside safety on the weak side. And there's a reason why I do that, but obviously I can't slow it down. I'm forcing myself not to. I could make a whole video on that, right? So I'm definitely in my pressure package side because now I feel as if he just wants to throw. So I go to my creeper Oki Eagle 3. We get another sack. Look how I'm just constantly playing games on the backside by Chase, and look how we're doubling him with that backside X. So he went back to that play again and again. We're having issues with that play with the backer. The backer just cannot keep up with the weak side linebacker, right? So I go cover 4 bingo again. If you don't know what cover 4 bingo is, definitely go check out this guy named Deuce Close. I ran into one of his videos where he went over this cover 4 bingo, and there's a reason why I either play cover 9 or cover 4 bingo against players who I believe may be running like 4 verticals against my match coverage. Because match has problems against 4 verts in this game, cover 4 match. And cover 9 and cover 4 bingo is a way to definitely stop that. I love cover 4 bingo because it allows me to do a lot of things with the backside safety that I'm not able to do against with cover 9. Because in cover 9, the backside safety is forced to poach over to the strong side to help out the bunch side. So he had enough. I played cover 2 match on that interception. Why don't I go back to that? Dude, I'm so bad. Let me go back. So he quit after I scored on that deep touchdown. I didn't go over offense in this game because, again, I'm utilizing my playbook. So, again, if you guys don't know what the series is about, I'm going to play only bad teams, but I'm going to use my offensive playbook that I'm comfortable with, the Steelers, and my defensive playbook, the Raiders. But I'm just going to play with bad teams online and actually try online, not fumble around and practice things. I'll use other accounts for that so we can see, how good we can get with the record and etc. So anyways, he was running the same formation. I had a feeling he was going to run the same play where Chase is running a post and the back is running that wheel pattern. So I'm like, you know what? I'm having issues with cover 4. So I'm like, you know what? Let me run cover 2 match. And lo and behold, look at the quarterback making an adjustment. So this tells me that even the most novice of players know when you are in cover two. It's an easy pre-snap read. But this is where cover two match is so good. Look how that's one of the problems with a lot of players. They try to throw the whole shot against cover two, and it gets intercepted or a batted ball, etc. Okay? I'll never forget earlier on in this year, a guy who knows a lot about football, high understanding, etc. I was a little bit surprised when he asked, hey, what are you guys doing to get the whole shot against cover two? I'm having a little bit of issue with that. Now I think, maybe his issue was exactly what you saw on that screen, in that shot as I rewind it again. If you're going to try to throw the whole shot, make sure you actually stress the safety. You notice how when he throws this, it's only one player going deep to the outside? That does not stress this safety, okay? I don't know how the game has it coded, but if you think in theory, if your deep half safety is in cover two, and there's two receiving threats on one side of the field, but in this particular formation, there's only one, right? But let's just pretend that there's two receivers on his side. If the number two stays underneath and runs like a drag or a slant or a whip route, well, the safety doesn't necessarily have to play inside if the number one is running a fade, right? Why would the safety have to hinge inside if there's no threat running up the field to challenge the post? So in that situation, if you're only sending one deep on the outside, the safety theoretically should be able to squeeze harder to the outside because there's nothing threatening him deep up the field on a post. As opposed to you sending two deep upfield, maybe one on a post and one on the fade, now that whole shot is a lot more inviting because the safety is forced to honor the threat of someone challenging the post. He can't just hinge all the way outside to defend that fade pattern. And if he does, then you can just throw the post, right? So, if you're having trouble throwing hole shots against cover two, make sure you're actually sending too deep to stress the safety, okay? Now in that situation, if you send too deep and your outside one fade pattern is having trouble beating the jam, well then, you gotta have a third route, have someone challenging the flat, right? Because a cloud flat doesn't have to honor the flat if no one's challenging the flat, so he can sink a little bit deeper on that fade pattern, which makes you can shrink the window, I guess you can say, on that throw to the deep fade, okay? So I hope you can envision this because I'm talking over the screen here. But it's all about stressing and stretching defenders when you're throwing against zone, okay? So anyways, I think that's the video. I'll leave it at that. But this video was more so, I would say probably about 80% of the video was talking about three sight. So, is it in the game? I guess you can say, but it's only really against that particular formation. That's what I don't like. Because if we go to regular trips with HB weak, I don't think it plays like that. Maybe I would have to check to make sure. So that's something definitely that I'm probably going to do right after this video. But at least in gun split slot, that formation that's my opponent was running, we know that it actually plays like three sight. For us to efficiently play it better, just use the weak side linebacker and the rules. If the back stays in the block or runs directly at you, right, you have him. But if he goes to the flat or he wheels up and he's running a wheel or goes to the flat now, you don't have to take him. The safety is going to hinge over and take him, and then maybe you can look for a crosser from the front side. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you keep coming back for more, man. Peace.